cleaning for consistency is the most important, and being reliable. And so I've always kept that in the back of my head, and all of the systems and processes that we have here at RCF are geared around consistency and reliability.
Welcome to Beyond Clean with Ace. In the world of commercial cleaning, whether you're new to the industry or a seasoned professional, you know we're all more than just toilets, windows, and floors. We're just like everyone else with diverse interests in everything. Now in Season 9, tens of thousands have discovered engaging and thoughtful knowledge that's truly game-changing at Beyond Clean with Ace. Whether you're a facility manager, a frontline staff member, or a building services contractor, we're here to help you grow personally and professionally. So hit that subscribe button and share with others. We're all about enhancing lives in healthy, positive, and proactive ways. So join me, Dave Thompson, Director of the Academy of Cleaning Excellence, your host at Beyond Clean with Ace.
Hello, everyone. Dave Thompson here. And yes, I'm here at Beyond Clean with Ace, where we talk about everything cleaning and otherwise. You never know where the conversation is going to go. And that's exactly what a podcast is. And today, through the benefit and the technology of the internet, I'm going to travel across the country today. We're not going to be here on the East Coast in this conversation. But hey, you might not have known this, but I spent some of my time in my childhood in Idaho. Yeah, that's right. It's not 95 degrees there, I can probably imagine. So let's get somebody on the horn here and see if I'm right. Christina, it's not 95 where you're at.
Nope, it's right now currently, I believe, 73 degrees.
Oh my gosh, I would love to have 73 degrees.
It's supposed to get up to probably 90, 95 today, but it's still early.
Yeah, well, so we jumped a few time zones, folks. So if you're watching on YouTube, thank you for joining us. If you're listening to the podcast, thank you for that. I was telling Christina, we're over about 22,000 downloads over the last 9 years. I really appreciate that. So I want to give a shout out to everybody that subscribes, likes, and the thing is, a podcast is all about sharing. In light of that, Christina, share with us who you are, what you are, how did you get here, and what's on your mind today?
Well, my name's Christina Freer, and I'm from Boise, Idaho, here. And I was actually born and raised in Burley, Idaho, if anybody knows where that's at. It's this tiny little farm town. But yeah, I've been in the janitorial industry. I'm coming up on 20 years this next year in July.
Right.
So I'm pretty proud of that. I started this business on my own with a vacuum that my husband purchased from a yard sale. It was an old loud thing. So before that, I was actually a real estate agent, so I knew how to sell, and he gave me the idea, and I just kind of ran with it and ended up really loving it. And so here I am.
Now, I also read on your website something about a mop and an ice bucket or something.
So what that's all about is when we first started, I was literally broke. We didn't have money to buy supplies. We did not have anything. And so I just had to figure it out. And matter of fact, that's the thing I say to my team all the time is we'll figure it out. Like, let's just figure it out. And so we figured it out. But Back then, I just had an old bucket from the Tide soap, and I thought, well, this will work. And found a mop and got the vacuum and went to work.
And that's kind of the story of a lot of people in this industry, isn't it?
Yeah.
Now, mine's a little bit different than that. We won't go into that today, but hey, I got to tell you before I get too far in there, I said here in the opening, I spent some of my time in second grade in Salmon, Idaho.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's not.
Yeah, you're not too far from there.
No, but yeah, I don't. That's interesting because you're in Florida, right?
Well, yeah, and the thing is I had a friend of mine. We were on a motorcycle trip. He was from England, and we went up through there. I actually took him to Salmon, Idaho, and we went up to the Continental Divide up there. And on the way back, we just happened to find a hot spring out in the middle of a cow pasture.
Nice.
So that night I took my wife out. I said, hey, I got something to take you to. And I said, we'll never find this again. So here we are in the middle of the cow pasture in the hot springs looking at the stars. It was absolutely beautiful.
That's pretty much how people in Idaho live. We find things in random little trips, and we never know where we're going half the time.
And the only reason I say that, and I like what you said there, is that's kind of the cleaning industry. You just kind of find your way around, and at some point, they start saying you're a professional. I don't know when that is.
Well, I kind of pinpoint when that happened for me, which is really interesting.
All right.
I have a really good friend, and he's a property manager here in Boise, and they've got a lot of buildings. And he was just a friend. He's still a friend, but back then when I first got started, whether he knows it or not, he became my mentor. And I just sat him down and I'm like, I started this business, and I need, from your perspective, I need to know if I'm moving in the right track. And so he spent a lot of time with me, just helping me through those conversations, what property managers are looking for, what's important, what's not important, what to focus on. And so I took all of that information and I put it in my proposal, my cleaning proposal, and I've used it since then. And ever since I've used that, I'm just kind of built on it with my own things. It just gets better and better. But it's all about just listening to what they want instead of what we think they want, and just helping people solve their cleaning problems. That's what I try to do every day when I come in contact with the client is, a lot of them are frustrated with the cleaning that they're having right now. And so I'm actually looking for those people. And when I find them, I get excited because I know that I can put my best work forward and solve those issues and come up with a plan for their facility to make them happy.
So you there at RCF, do you mainly do commercial buildings, retail buildings, residential? Kind of give us an idea.
We do all commercial, so office space. We also do some manufacturing facilities, and usually it's not within their warehouse. It's still a lot of their office space.
Okay.
Some of their restrooms in the warehouse, but mostly focus on office cleaning. Within that, we still do, the floors. We'll strip and wax the floors, carpet cleaning, the window cleaning.
So full janitorial then?
Yes.
Okay. There's I think the reason we got together, folks, if you're listening or watching this afternoon or this morning, wherever you're at, we appreciate that. We got together because I read an article that you got quoted in that was talking about restrooms and stuff, and it kind of piqued my interest. Of course, you and I have some history with infection control and stuff, right?
Correct. I took one of your classes.
Hey, folks.
That helped me with my proposals too.
Oh, hey, you know what? Hey, I guess I was in that mentorship somewhere along the line, huh?
Yep.
Okay, so what's on the mind today? What's of interest this week or month?
Well, I think the thing that I was trying to figure out, like, what would benefit people the most to hear us talk about. And one of the things from that conversation that I learned from my friend was cleaning for consistency is the most important, and being reliable. And so I've always kept that in the back of my head, and all of the systems and processes that we have here at RCF are geared around consistency and reliability. And so not only from the proposal, in front of a client, but it starts in our training, first in our orientation of our cleaners, the training that they receive, our service schedules. We break those down and train the cleaners on those so that when they're delivering the service, it's consistent. I think that along the line, the thing that I've learned is, even when we've lost an account, because we're not perfect, nobody is, it always comes back to that we weren't consistent. And so we're still improving every day on that, but my team probably gets tired of me saying the word consistent.
Well, hey, folks, if you're watching the video here today, you see that I popped up the website. If you're listening to it, you can go there. You can find this on our front page. But the RCF started a little different than what it's wound up to be.
Yeah.
So explain for the people that can't see this to the listeners that are on the podcast, what are we looking at here?
So this is our acronyms. Well, I mean, it really means Robert and Christina Freer, if anybody's wondering. In the elevators, in the office buildings, I'll usually say real clean freaks. So we have lots of different words.
A real creep. What, now, one more time. What was that?
Real clean freaks. So when we really boil it down, I mean, it all just comes back to the words that I learned from my friend is reliable people, consistent systems, and then delivering a fantastic service. And so that's what we ended up on, and that's what we care about here.
So, I mean, the thing is consistent systems. And when we were talking restrooms, I find that very few operations really do have a consistent system when it comes to restrooms because it's kind of a free-for-all. Can you give us a little bit more depth insight?
So so we have in our orientation, when a new employee comes on, we do all of the normal paperwork, right? But there's an element to it where we show everybody the same training videos, and then they go through the same on-site training as far as like how to read our service schedule, what the buildings that they're going to be in. We go over exactly what the customer wants in that particular building because each one of them are so different. I mean, you have like the main idea of what they want, but there's little things, they may want their dishwasher unloaded. We're not going to get crazy on some of these little items, but there are little things that we can do to make them even happier, And so we just make sure that our cleaners are trained on those items before they go out on site, and then they train on site with the supervisor, and they go over the same thing. So by the time they start cleaning on their own, they've been trained on the service schedule 3 or 4 times. From there, we break it down between the daily, weekly, and monthly tasks. We not only just say, a lot of times what I see in these closets is check marks. We're going to do this on a weekly basis. We're going to do this on a monthly basis. Well, when? When are you going to do it? And so we on our service schedules, we put, okay, the cleaner will say, we want you to do this task on Wednesday, and this one on Thursday, and this one on Friday. So they're working through the building throughout the week. If it's a team, then they all have their own specific assignments. Like the restroom cleaner will have theirs, the trash and dusting will have their specific weekly assignments. And then on a monthly basis, we've actually broken down the areas of our whole entire city. And so one area of town is working on monthly tasks, like week 1, week 2 is another area, week 3. And so we've really just made everything in our business a quadrant.
Okay. And so am I hearing you right? This is kind of like a version of team cleaning in a way?
It is. Mm-hmm.
So, for those folks that don't know, let's explain the differences here in that, because some people call it specialist cleaning, team cleaning, or then there's the, one person goes in and does everything and doesn't do anything really well. Right.
What we do for that is we take the concept of team cleaning, we take it further. Like the team cleaning, if you really read through their packets, it has it broken down by a day of the week that you should do things. We took that literal on everything that we do. So our service schedule, not only for our cleaners, but for our clients too. And I'll tell you right now, when we implemented that, it was really scary to give the client, okay, we're going to do this on Wednesday, and we're going to do this on Thursday, and then all of our monthly tasks on Friday, and we're going to do our inspection this time. And so it holds us accountable to what we say we're going to do for each client.
So now you mentioned inspections, so they're not just able to check it off. There's has to be a validation that they actually did. Right.
We have clean smarts that we use for all of our inspections. So the supervisors have scheduled inspections that they do, and it depends on the building. I mean, it could be weekly, every week, once a day. I mean, depending on the size of the building, but I'd say generally it's either, twice a month or once a month. It's scheduled out to where they go out, and then we track it in our team leadership meetings every week. We had this many scheduled inspections and how many were completed. And if there's a gap, why didn't these get done? I mean, do we need more staff? Do we need, what's going on? So we
Do
can
you have a rewards program built into that so that if the cleaner meets a certain number or level of expectations that they get rewards? Do you have anything like that built into that?
Yeah, it's funny you asked that. No, not as of yet, but we have a quarterly meeting coming up next week where that's one of our topic of conversations, because putting this system in place was a feat all in itself. And now we feel like it's rolling really well. And now we're like, okay, now we need to take a step back and do some of these other more fun things.
And I think as I've talked with people, because, hey, I'm, as one person said, I'm a talking head now. And I'm like, okay, so I've earned that right. After 54 years, I've earned that right.
Yeah.
I'm not out there actually doing the cleaning like you. So I champion what you're doing, you and your team. But I think even years ago when I was running mine, I found that people, and this doesn't matter who we are, we always work better when we are rewarded for our efforts rather than beat over the head because we didn't do something. I find so many inspection programs are used at billy clubs to make sure that people do right, but they're never praised for what they actually do right.
I agree. That's something we're working on. And I think that comes down to getting the right people in the right positions, right, and making sure that we're not hiring people that have billy clubs in their hands and that they match who we are, because we like to have fun around here, but we also take what we do seriously. And so if somebody isn't getting it right, we go out and we train them again or spend time with them and make sure that they understand what's expected, instead of you did this wrong and they never know what the heck is happening, because that doesn't help anyone.
I want to go back to your consistency thing, if you don't mind, because I saw something on your website that I want to bring up to everybody. So here again, if you're watching, you'll get to see this. If not, you can go to the website, from RCF, and you can find out what I'm talking about. But it shows a picture right here. Let me see if I can get a better one. If I can get a better one here.
We're working on that.
No, but here's the thing. Here's the thing I wanted to point out, though. Whenever you talk about consistency in floors, here is a person using a scrubber, a micro scrubber, instead of a mop bucket. And, I think when I was talking to a guy last week on podcast, we were talking this mop bucket mentality that simply moves dirt around, never gets a floor clean. There's no consistency. And here you are talking about consistency, and here it is right on the front page. I love it.
Yeah, I actually love those little machines. That, that's a stock photo, obviously, but I don't like mop buckets. I really don't. And we do still use them, but anytime that we have, especially with these LVT floors, the mop bucket is horrible. They'll just streak all over the place. I think that having the proper equipment for the accounts is one of the most important things that we can do from the very beginning. Making sure that the cleaners have the tools that they need to get their job done correctly, instead of just dropping off some random generalized cleaning equipment and expecting them to be able to do their job the right way, And so that's one of the things when I'm doing a building walkthrough in the beginning is I'm taking down what type of floors do they have, what type of countertops, what type of everything, like materials within the building, so that I can assess like what type of equipment we're going to need and is going to be the most efficient. Less problems are going to be happening if we have the right equipment, and the cleaners aren't going to be frustrated and quit because they don't have what they need to do their job. They want to do a good job.
And what you're talking about here, Christina, I think a lot of people don't understand. Those people that are in the cleaning industry and don't, own it, don't manage it, don't understand what it really takes to go through and do a proper walkthrough and to evaluate everything that you said, and then make sure you have the consistent program so that you keep an employee there and you keep the expectations for the client up. It's not simply what you explained earlier, grabbing an old vacuum and a mop bucket anymore.
No. And that was a learning lesson for me, because it's like, okay, I just cleaned that whole office with a tiny little mop and a bucket that I can't even wring this out, and along the way, I just taught myself, like, okay, how can I do this better? How can I do this more efficiently? Because it was me cleaning by myself for years.
But we can't get by with that kind of stuff anymore.
No, No, not only that, I would get thrown out of their building. What is this? And they didn't even know. It was like I would bring it with me and take it with me.
Well, but I think this is what people don't understand here in 2025 as we're recording this today. You can't start in the cleaning industry the way that you and I did back in the day.
No way. Mm-mm.
It just doesn't work. The expectations are at a different level. And, as we talk and you said you took some classes, it was during COVID. So I ask you this question because you're out there every day beating the cleaning bandwagon. Have we learned anything since COVID?
I've learned a lot of things since COVID. I've learned patience. I've learned, no. Why am I drawing a blank right now? But
from the customer's viewpoint, because, before it's always been price, bid. Who's going to, if you're full janitorial, you're a quarter cents over what the other guy is. Have we learned that quality is much more important than that? Is health still number one, or have we slid back?
I feel like, yes, it is something that they want, but I don't ever hear anyone say, I want you to come in and clean my building for health. I want you to be consistent. I want you to do it. I want you to show up. I want your team to show up. I want you to do what you say you're going to do. And I don't want to have to deal with it. I'm like, great, we can do that.
So what you're saying is the value still isn't there?
I think the value's there, but the people that I've been working with, because I always ask them, why did you bring me in here today? What's going on? What is the main concern? And it always comes back to somebody didn't show up, or I'm not getting the service that I'm contracted for. Like they did good for a couple weeks or a couple months, and we're back to square one again. There's no accountability. So I think, yes, they want healthy cleaning, and I think that's important for us to deliver that. But I think in order for us to keep long-term clients, we have to be consistent and show up.
So is the responsibility to educate the clientele, the people that we're servicing, ours, or is it somebody else's responsibility?
For us to educate the client?
Yeah.
I believe it's our responsibility to make sure that they understand, like, yes, we're going to be consistent and this is how our process is. And these are the things that we're going to be, these are the supplies that we're going to be using. This is how we're going to achieve that. And so, yeah, I think it's our responsibility to make sure that they understand what we will be doing within the building too.
So as a consumer of items, and you mentioned, we talked about the machine, chemicals, tools, machines, et cetera. Do you find that you spend more time and effort making sure they fit, or, as some people say, I'm just going to buy the cheapest thing that's on the shelf and go with it? Where do you fall in this after these years?
So we have a consistent set of supplies and equipment that we use, including chemicals. And then I always we assess each account as we bring them on if we're going to need something different. So let's say if we need touch-free cleaning or restroom cleaning equipment because we're going to be cleaning a gym, we don't want to go in there with a rag and a spray bottle. That's not going to cut it.
I think the day of the rag and spray bottle and restroom should have been dead, but unfortunately isn't.
No, it's not. And we have accounts that it works for because it doesn't make sense to bring, touch-free cleaning because they may have two small single bathrooms or something. But, just knowing what is going to create the best result in the end comes down to what supplies and equipment we bring on that site and how we take care of it too. We got to make sure that people are trained to take care of it and store it properly. And there's a lot of training that goes on before we can even start an account.
You mentioned training. Of course, here at the Academy, I'm all about knowledge and skills. And so here, I say that I have to educate the mind before I can implement skills, and that's the training. I was talking with somebody, and I want to get your opinion of this. Maybe you have seen it. Maybe you've been talking about it. Don't know. That's what I'm going to ask. But they're actually talking about, and you mentioned that you do all of this before the person goes, they're actually getting into 3D scanning the buildings and actually making the employee walk through the building and learn where everything is, where the halls are, where the lights are, where the alarm is, everything in that building before they ever walk in, how they want the closet to be set up and everything. Have you looked at any of this?
I have not, and that's really interesting. I would want to learn more about that, because one of the things that I usually get from a client is a copy of their layout map of their building, especially if it's a larger facility. If they have 4 floors, I want a map for every floor that they have, so that we can go over it as a team and say, okay, these are where the bathrooms are, so I can generally lay it out in a color code. It's probably the old school way now. Sounds like, but I mean, it really helps, because then they can take it on site with them and say, okay, this is generally where the bathroom should be. So we kind of know where they are.
I thought this was very interesting, because this was at one of the trade shows, and you never know what you're going to walk in when you go to a trade show. So, I'm telling you folks, when you walk to the trade shows, have a completely open mind and absorb everything.
Yeah.
Because this was actually real estate where it actually started. Because if you understand real estate, they do virtual walkthroughs, right?
Right.
And so what he said, why can't I put my staff in the chair and have them do virtual walkthroughs, floor by floor, room by room, every single space in there, whereby with their mouse, they can control what it is, they can look at everything. And he said, and then we do testing about what they saw, what they observed, and what should have been used on certain areas in certain places. And I thought, this is next level.
Yeah, that's actually kind of genius.
I haven't got it there yet. I'm looking at it myself for some of us here, to do. But I thought, for contractors, that's got to be really in a next level.
The only thing that we've really done is within the Clean Smarts app that we have, we can record a video and post it. So like if there's a facility that has, a weird spot where the janitor's closet is, or a interesting structure for their lighting, that we have some weird button, then we'll record, okay, you come through the building this way and you walk over here and here's where the lights are. And so it's always on there in case somebody forgets to tell, our support team when they have to go out and cover or something. So they can, oh, okay, I see. So they'll have it handy, but that's really as far as we've taken that. So
well, I can't really say anything more about who this was, because the guy didn't want to come on a podcast. He said, I don't want to give away my secrets.
Right. And I can understand that.
And I truly get it. And so I really can't say really a whole lot. But his point to that right there was, that's after the fact. And he says part of our skills training and part of our training for them before they ever walk in the building is we want to find out their aptitude of recognizing and knowing what we've set up and whether they can apply it to, because apparently they have a questionnaire that goes with the 3D scan video. And then they ask them, what would you use in this certain area, in this certain area? Where would you do this? And how long would it take? And they really get into it that way before they ever get there. He says, so they're doing it beforehand instead of what you and I are used to, is recording something after the fact.
Right. Yeah, I think that's smart.
I thought it was interesting, and I wanted to get your take on that, if you thought that was any. Because it's adding a whole nother layer of stuff for you, but then again, would that help retention?
Possibly. I mean, I'd have to look at the whole thing, and see how it all works and comes together. Maybe one of these days he'd be willing to share. I think that the more information that the team has before they go clean is always a good thing. I mean, so they have a general idea, because I mean, if you think about it, when we start an account, it always takes twice, sometimes 3 times as long, because everybody's running around trying to figure out where everything is.
Well, and that was his point. He said, but I'm not going to share a whole lot of my secrets. And I said, well, do you mind if I actually just kind of bring it up in conversation? He goes, well, it's, he said, I don't have any copyright on the idea thought of it. He said, I just took what they did in the retail and I adapted it for us. So he says it works. Yeah.
I mean, I think it's from what we've done, just, having the map and beforehand, so everybody knows where things are. jotting down like where the lights, where the dumpster, and all that stuff prior, so that when we do go out, everybody knows where generally it should be. They haven't seen it yet, but they have instructions on where it is. So yeah, I think it's a good idea.
And I think, folks, if you're listening to the podcast, thank you, or watching us on YouTube, we appreciate that. But this is what a podcast is about, is just all of us talking, coming up with ideas, and hopefully we help each other be better, and the competition is going to be what it is, but also raising the bar for everyone.
Agree. Yeah.
So what's new on the horizon there?
Over here?
Yeah.
Well, like I said, we have a quarterly meeting with our leadership team next week, and we have a lot of topics. It's a long meeting. We have a lot of topics of discussion, and who knows where we'll actually end up, because we usually pick 2 or 3 things to work on for the next quarter. And one of the things that is kind of fun is when you talked about having incentive plans and things like that, I try to encourage my team to go out within our cleaning teams and really get to know them. We have so many people that are artists, that can sing, that can play the guitar. We had a lady that wrote a book. We had a guy that just left our company. If I would have never known this, or sometimes typically companies, they don't really get to know their team, and then they're mad because they leave and they don't know why. Well, we do know why, and we had a guy that just got his pilot's license. He's going to go fly helicopters. So it's like, I just love it. I love it. I love this industry and all the people that come with it, and all the things the hard work that they do to meet their goals and get where they're going to want to go. And we actually applaud that for them. And so that's the exciting part for me.
I think you see on websites and you see in marketing, that they say we're people centric, but it actually takes another step when you actually know the people behind the employee that you work with.
Yeah, it's exciting. We just had we had a company picnic last Saturday, and I said, we have one girl that she skateboards. So she's been talking about her, like, bring your skateboard and show me your tricks. We have videos of all the guys and all of them just out doing tricks on their skateboards.
Yeah, well, you'll never find me on a skateboard, that's for sure.
Me neither. I'm like, I will video and you guys go ahead and skateboard. So we're hoping to build on that, and we have, a lot of the people that work at night are shy. It's hard to get them out of their shell, but once they know that, we're serious about this, it's interesting, all the things that we can learn from our teams. So that's another little nugget I would leave for other companies, is get to know your team, because there's so many cool and awesome people within the team.
I worked with a guy for some number of years. He's an HR certified person. Not going to get into those credentials because I'm certainly not in that. But one of his things was, he says, whenever you have a new hire, he said what you should do is put up a little deal like they do in first grade and second grade, third grade, where it's get to know the new student. Mm-hmm. And he said it's all of the personal stuff that nobody ever asked, and he says, so right when that new person comes in, everybody can look at who this new person is, because you're right. Most of us don't see each other because we're working at times where we don't see. So until you get to a company party, you don't ever know, hey, who are you?
Yeah. Who's this person? And so it's a really fun thing to do. It makes you, because it is hard to figure out, how to get those people involved or engaged. And that's one way that we're working on it. I actually started it with our leadership team, and those DISC tests where they can take the test and you get to know their person. So I had them do that at first. And then I started asking more questions. Well, what about this? So we learned about how each one of us tick and why we do the things that we do. And that really helped us become more of a team, I guess. So it opened up.
Did you learn something about yourself through that process too?
Yeah.
Now, I'm not going to go into what it was that you learned.
I had to learn to let go. I had to learn, let go of they can do it. I don't have to be meddling in everything.
And I think that's something that's hard for owners or managers to do, is to back off and let people do. the cleaning industry sometimes goes one way or the other. Either somebody micromanages so much, or they just don't do any at all. And it's somewhere in between there.
Yeah, and I think those weekly meetings really help because you realize they do know what they're doing. And you know what? I don't clean anymore, but they do, and they do probably a better job than I do because that's what they're good at, you know? I'm actually like more of a salesperson at heart, and I wouldn't even say salesy sales, like customer service sales. And, you know, and I figured out how to clean, but they know how to clean. So they help me put all these systems together too.
So whenever you talk about your team and people and everything, can we give people a little idea how large, how many people, et cetera, et cetera?
Yes, we have 5 on our leadership team, and then company-wide, we have 68 or 69 employees right now.
Okay.
Well, we're still growing. We're still, my goal is next year to hit hopefully 100. So we're going to have a growth spurt here, I think. So that'll be good.
So how many of those, if you don't mind, would be full or part-time?
I would say we have about a third of them that are part-time.
Okay. So you're not heavily weighted on part-time then?
No, we used to be, but we kind of went back. It just depends on the facility. Like if we need team cleaning, it all goes back to the hiring, like hiring the right people and making sure that if we do hire somebody for full-time, that they're going to be reliable, you know, and that we do all the screening and background checks and, you know, check on their previous employment to make sure. So they go through a lot before they can work here, really. I mean, we talk to them probably 6 or 7 times before we actually bring them on. So we know when they come that they want to work here.
You know, something just hit my head, folks. And, you know, hey, like I said, it's a live podcast and things will just kind of come out of my head. You know, I had an opportunity, and this may be reaching back into some people's memory banks quite a ways, but I had an opportunity to meet Don Aslett. You're up in the area where the museum and all of that started, are you not?
So that's in Pocatello, I believe. I want to make it out there. He actually was here for the governor's proclamation of cleaning week. And he brought his old vacuums, and I got to meet him. It was really cool.
Did you ever get to see his toilet briefcase?
No, I didn't. He brought
gosh.
3 or 4 old vacuums, and he whipping them out, and I'm like, oh man, I'm so glad we don't have to use that.
Now I think his son is taking over the whole operation in the museum, right?
I think that's what I heard. Yeah, and I believe he was there too, but I don't remember. I was just in awe because he was there, and you know. He's a star in the cleaning world.
Yeah, you know, hey, you know, some of us old people, you know, we've been doing this for so long. I remember the days when he was just getting good going, and you know, he was and I guess he still is. He's probably, gosh, he's got to be in the 90s somewhere, I would think.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, he was getting around really good at, you know, the governor's office, and he had a really good attitude. It's quite funny, actually.
Oh yeah, he was a blast. And you know, I think this is the thing is you remember some of these characters that have been in the cleaning industry. You know, it does take. You have to have a little bit of a light to it because sometimes it gets very, very monotonous, very challenging, and sometimes quite gross.
Yeah, it does. And when we sat down as a leadership team, and I'm like, okay, we're going to figure out our core values. And you know, it's kind of a cliche behind that. People like really rolling their eyes, like, what? Why? I'm like, because there's a personality within our company. We need to figure this out, you know, like so that we can keep saying it, and we get more people that, you know, go along with what we believe here. And one of the things that we picked was have fun, and so. We really do. I mean, sometimes it's not fun, but we can find fun within it. And what we mean by that is not like go party all the time, but you know, let's find the joy in every day that we're working. I mean, there's good in every day. And even if it's a complaint or something went wrong, like what can we figure out? We can learn something from that and improve on who we are and what we do. And so,
well, you know, everybody likes to focus on all the bad stuff. We all get that. So now that you mentioned fun, Do you have an example of one of the funniest things that's happened in your cleaning career?
Oh my gosh, one of the funniest things. Oh, you're putting me on the spot.
Oh, I'm sorry. Hey, folks, that's what I do.
It's not funny, but it is now. I mean, and
yeah, there's some things that's happened to me. I'm like, at the time it wasn't, but I look back, I go, oh gosh, looking from the outside, that was hilarious.
So myself, I've actually had to dumpster dive for a key that I threw in there. I've had a dumpster dive several times. I've locked myself.
There isn't a custodian that, if they owned up to it, hadn't done that.
I've actually locked myself in a building, out of a building. I've locked myself in bullpens before. Had to jump the gate. We had a gal that there's a building that has a door with, it's like where the bathrooms are, and there's a door, and the customer was like, and I wasn't smart enough to say, hey, this isn't going to cut it. We need to fix that now before somebody gets locked in. But they said, you always have to keep this open because somebody will get locked inside of the hallway and they can't get out. And so one of our gals got locked inside that hallway, and she left her phone, keys in another area of the building.
Oh, yeah.
And I had the police show up at my door. Do you know where? So I'm like, oh no, I knew exactly where she was.
Oh yeah.
I know where she is. We went and got her out. She was madder than a wet hornet.
Yeah, wasn't funny to her then, but she goes,
no. But yeah, it's something we can laugh about now, and we got that fixed, that door. And anytime there's ever anything like that now, I'm like, no way. I can see problems brewing.
I noticed whenever I looked on the website, your husband was there. You've not mentioned him today.
My bad.
I
have him on, and he can do his little spin. Yeah, Robert, he's my husband. He actually is the person that gave me the idea for this company way back when. He had a friend in Utah that had a commercial cleaning company, so he helped him strip and wax floors and do some marketing. And they were quite young at the time. And so he's like, you should start a cleaning company. And when he told me that, I thought he meant cleaning homes. I'm like, that's not for me. But then when he told me it's businesses, I'm like, you know what? I love working with business people. And so I could see where it could work, and just started exploring. But he works here in the office, and he is over all of our financial operations. So he takes care of all of our accounting and budgeting and keeps me in line on what I spend.
So would you consider a family business? Is there just you and your husband, or are there family members involved?
Just my husband and I, and everybody else is not family. I mean, I consider a lot of them my family, but no, blood-wise, no.
They don't call you mom, though.
No, they don't call me mom. I could be their mother. I'm old enough.
Well, I got to say, well, since you mentioned that, though, Christina, what if you don't mind, is your age group diversified? I mean, because we've now got 5 generations of people in the cleaning industry. How do you find it with your staff?
It is very diversified. We have, I would say, 20 on up to 70 working for us now. I mean, there's all sorts of different ages. So and my granddaughters and my grandsons, they don't work here, but they've grown up around. Well, not only do I have this company, my daughter started a residential cleaning company, and she's got quite a large company. My son does mobile detailing for cars, and my other son does carpet cleaning, and he does building cleaning on a smaller level, and kind of a specialized cleaning, I'd say, like hot pressure washing. Excuse me, that's what I was trying to say. So all my kids are in the cleaning industry, and now my grandkids are coming on up, but they've been cleaning with us too. So they'll go around the house with their little mops and their little vacuums. And
I had a mentor of mine, and you mentioned mentor earlier, so I kind of want to bring this back. He said, he was trying to get out of the cleaning industry and had left and moved to California and everything. And I talked to him a couple of years later, because here he was attached to another cleaning item. And I said, what's going on? I thought he said, the cleaning industry has a way of getting its hooks into you and never letting go.
That's the truth. Yeah. I can't imagine anything else that I'd want to do. I mean, I love it. if you would ask my younger self if I would be in the cleaning industry, I would have been like, no, because I actually started at a hotel right out of high school, and I started there as a maid, a night maid. So I would go in and like whatever the maids couldn't get done during the day, I cleaned up, and then ended up cleaning like the restrooms in the convention center and stuff. And so I worked at that place, ended up in sales. But then when I got into janitorial, and one night I'm cleaning, and I'm like, well, I'll be danged. I just went back to where I started.
So you mentioned something here as we're getting to the end of our podcast time. We appreciate you guys staying with us and listening or watching us today. If you were going to tell your younger self and give your younger self advice now, which is probably some people listening or watching this afternoon, this morning, whatever time it is, they're thinking, I'm just now getting started. What would you tell your younger self today?
To not be afraid and just don't let fear get in your way. Like that people are more worried about themselves than they are about anybody else. And so to just go after it harder, just go after it, whatever it is, make a goal and get after it and stop overthinking.
Well, there you go, folks. There's your advice for today. Now, I've got 2 questions I always ask my new guests.
Oh, shoot.
You ready for this?
Sure.
Where were you born?
I was born in Burley, Idaho.
Yeah, so you're still pretty local then.
Yep, Idaho, born and raised, still here, never leaving.
Folks, she likes snow. That's what she's trying to say.
I actually do not like snow. No, I don't. When winter comes, I'm like, oh man. But I make it through.
So, folks, this afternoon, this morning, whenever you're listening, we know where Christina was born. We know she stayed in Idaho her whole life as far as living. I imagine she's traveled a bit. I also picked up that she has kids and grandkids. Everybody's in the cleaning industry. So my last question here is, we're only halfway through the year 2025. What's on your personal bucket list? Not business-wise, you yourself. What's on your personal bucket list for this year?
Well, my husband and I are planning a trip to go to Nashville. And then we're actually planning a trip because next year is our 20th wedding anniversary. So it's not going to happen this year, but it's the planning stages. So that right now we're trying to figure out what our bucket list is and where we want to go. So that's been fun to talk about and figure out what's next, where are we going to have some fun. So we'll have a little break in between and then the big one's on.
Now, you might be wondering, folks, why I ask these questions. And if you're looking here on the on the YouTube, here's all the information how to get hold of Christina at RCF Commercial Cleaning. Now, here, the thing is, we know where she was born. We know what she's doing now. We know that everybody's in the cleaning industry, not just together, but all doing it. And we know what she wants to do for this year. My advice to you as we end this podcast today is make sure that whatever journey that you are on, make sure that it's healthy, positive, and proactive. Thank you, Christina, for being on today.
Thank you so much. It was a lot of fun. I appreciate it.
Thanks for watching, everybody, or listening as it might be.